My name is Rose Lynette Bluth. I was born February 13th of 1938 in Dublin, Colonia Dublin, Chihuahua, Mexico. My parents are Oliver F. Bluth and Agnes Scott. The oldest one in the family is my sister Elaine. She was born in 1922, and my brother Scott, Oliver Scott, named for his dad. He was born in October 23rd of 1922, and then Rollabon was born in 1927. Jerry, his name was Jerry Dean Bluth, and he was born in 1930. So he was 8 years old by the time I was born in 1938. For the first 10 years of my life, we didn't have electricity, and so we had to use coal oil lamps. And when it would start getting dark, my mother would get out the lamps and wash the chimneys and trim the wicks. Daddy put 3 great big rocks kind of in a circle, and then so that he could make a bonfire in the middle, a wood fire, and put a big tin tub on it, and then there would have to pump water into a bucket and carry it over to the tub and back and forth from the pump to the big tin tub. I had a wonderful high school. It was really fun because it was a small school, everybody knew everybody, and everything in Dublin and Juarez in the Mormon colonies was run by the church, including the school. So all of our activities was run either by the high school, which was Colonia Juarez Academy, Dublin Mutual, or the Colonia Juarez Mutual. So those 3 organizations always had something going for us in the colonies every Friday night. And when I'd gone to Tucson with Kathleen Jones, who was sister to Max's wife, Christine, my cousins in Mexico, she had invited me to go to Tucson for a couple of weeks. And so Scott gave me $50, and Kathleen and I rode out to Tucson with Sister Mehmet and Larry, her son Larry Mehmet, and Ron Jones. So the 4 teenagers of us took Sister Mehmet out to her sisters in Safford. Then Larry took us teenagers on over to Tucson. So the next day at church, Kathleen and I walk in and sit in the back row in the front of the chapel, and the choir seats. Lonnie was sitting up there, and so I asked her, "Who's that boy sitting up there in the corner?" And she says, "Well, that's Lonnie Nelson, but he's going steady with another girl." She thought, because she had spent the school year in Juarez down there in Dublin with us, and so, but come to find out, he and his girlfriend had broken up. So after church, he came down and asked Kathleen to introduce me, and Ron Jones was there with us, and Lonnie's uncle, Don Nelson, who was Lonnie's best friend also. So the 3 boys took Kathleen and I, and they went and picked up Janice Bingham. And so the 3 girls and the 3 boys in Lonnie's car, and Lonnie asked me to sit by him. So he took us for a ride out to Sabino Canyon, and we stopped at the NW root beer and got us a gallon of root beer for the 6 of us to drink. And we climbed up on this great big rock, and we were sitting up there drinking our root beer. He took everybody home and took me back to Kathleen's last. Of course, Kathleen went in the house, and Lonnie and I stayed out in the car and talked for a while, and he wanted to know all about me, and I wanted to know all about him. And so when I finally went in afterward, Kathleen had set up a booby track for me so that when I opened up the front door, a box of fruit jar lids a whole bunch of jar lids in the box fell on the floor and it came crashing down, making this big noise. Lonnie and I got married March the 14th, 1958, and we had to go from Tucson to Mesa to the temple, and it was about a 2-hour drive. So Lonnie and I went in his car, and his folks went in their car, and we just kind of drove together. But Lonnie was so nervous, he got sick to his stomach and had to stop and pull over and went in the back of the car and threw up. Anyhow, so we were married in the temple, and then after we were married, when the president of the temple was President Payne, when he found out who we were, he was very best friends with my mom and dad. He was from the Mormon colonies, and so he invited us in his office and talked with us for a while and visited with us, and then he took us over to his house and talked to us at his house to that. And then we went back at the temple to eat at the cafeteria. So it was just like our wedding breakfast was in the temple cafeteria, because all the family and everybody was there. And that was really neat, because everybody paid for their own dinners. So it was wonderful. The food was absolutely heavenly, and the Mesa Temple was so pretty. And the cafeteria on the Mesa Temple, on the north side, is solid windows that look out onto this beautiful pond. So it was really a special day. So family members rode on our car, just married, and he ran fast, but she ran fast, but he ran faster because he caught her. Something. Anyway, and then they tied a whole bunch of cans on the back of our car, and so when we went down the road, they were cluttering up, clanging and cluttering. Lonnie had to finally get out and take them off, going down the highway in Mesa. So then we went to Tucson, and our reception was that night in Tucson. And during the reception, my cousin Mariner Jones got some of the other guys that were there, my brother Rollabon and Scott and some other cousins and boys, came and picked me up and carried me out in my dress and my veil and flying in the wind, and put me in Mariner's car and took me down the Tucson Boulevard. And in that busy street in Tucson, they have a main center thing with flowers and trees and things in it. And they stopped the car and put me up on top of this thing so that the cars were going on both sides of me. And it was at night, and the cars just going, and they could see me in the wind blowing my veil and everything, blowing my dress, and I was standing there scared, and the cars were honking at me, and these guys in a convertible passed me and were whistling at me, and they turn around and come back for me, and I was really scared, so I ran across the street to this store. And by that time, Mariner and them came, and they picked me up. And I was really kind of mad about the whole thing. But anyway, they took me back to the wedding reception, and because there was a dance going on. We had a dance as well as refreshments and things. And so after it was all over, Lonnie and I went to get in our car, and all of a sudden we hear this psh, boom, smoke comes out. After they had put a smoke bomb in the engine, so that when he turned on the ignition, it ignited that bomb, and it went off, and the smoke was going everywhere. So Lonnie gets out and says, ha, 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 because they were all watching and laughing, of course. When we got to our motel that he had rented that night, he picked me up and carried me over the threshold, and then When he put me down, he put his arms around me and gave me a big hug, and he says, "Now you're all mine. Nobody else will ever have you. You're mine forever." I love being a mama, a mother. I thought my kids were absolutely beautiful and loving, and we just thoroughly enjoyed them. So Jed was born February 21st of 1959, and we were so happy to have a son. He was such a cute little guy. And Carrie came 2.5 years later. Well, a little more than that, about 23 months, I guess. She was born January 4th of 1961. Cindy was born August 8th of 1963. Harold was born in May 29th of 1968. I really enjoyed the kids. I always made them special cakes for their birthday. Oh my goodness, I made hearts and elephants and rabbits, a top, a bear, a baseball glove, a giraffe, butterflies. So we did a lot of fun birthday parties and things. Lonnie made them a wonderful swing set and a teeter-totter and sandbox that we had for the kids, and a beautiful playhouse, a walk-in playhouse that had moving windows and doors, and it was really fun. We enjoyed the kids a lot. The teenagers, we lived in Orem, and oh my gosh, the kids just really enjoyed Orem. They had a lot of good friends. It was our favorite place to live. We were only there 8 years, but when we moved to St. George, we loved Orem so much that we didn't, after Lonnie died, we wondered if we wanted to go back to Orem. And the kids had graduated from high school, so things had changed. So when Lonnie died, and I asked the kids if they wanted to go back to Orem, and they thought about it a bit, and they said, no, we want to stay here, that St. George is our home now. Oh my goodness, I love the grandkids. It's so fun with the grandkids. With the children, you love your children, but you also have the responsibility of dad making the living and just the hubbub of family life. But when you get to be a grandmother, then it's more of a picnic because you're not with them all the time, and so it's so special when you see them. So they too are just absolutely wonderful, and then the great grandkids are equally as good, and oh, it is so fun to see them. They're always, although is just absolutely precious, even as adults. I'm so proud of all of them. Every one of them are just wonderful. I love each one of them dearly, and they're just near to my heart my whole life. Te amo con todo mi amor, con todo de mi corazón. I love you dearly with all my heart.